Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever the fuck you're watching this episode. We got a new episode of the Blitz for you guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in. And my name is Raul Herrera. With me, I got Gary Freeze. How are you tonight, sir?
I'm doing good, man. Crazy weekend of football. Some controversial shit. We'll get into it. Well, feeling good, man.
Yeah, Free Senior, always good to see you.
Absolutely.
Curious to see your input tonight, Senior, just jumping right into last week's absolute fucking shit show. And I just want to start by saying that that head coach does not deserve a job. Hackett, Russell Wilson, I was right. So Andy's right to not fucking be on this show tonight. So whenever you watch this back, Andy, just know it's on site.
Aaron's Broncos are not doing well.
They're not doing well. Letting Russ cook is getting you nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen arguably the worst fucking play call on earth. Like, that was one of the worst possible calls you could have made. Second only to not giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch in the end zone.
How fucking triggered, and rightfully so, how triggered was Richard Sherman on that post game?
Yeah. Aaron, good to see you. Yeah. And you know what? Like, I'm no longer mad at Pete Carroll about this.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah. Pete was right.
The common denominator is fucking clear.
Yeah.
And I won't hear differently about it. And if Andy wants smoke, don't choke, because I'm a whole nicotine company, and that's word to J. Cole. If you haven't heard that song, please check it out. It's fire. But anyways, yeah, that was fucking embarrassing, to say the least. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, listen, I think they're starting to feel a little pressure because, like, people are questioning, why is Denver not successful? Why is Denver not going for it on that fourth down when they tried to kick a 65-yard fucking field goal? This isn't the response, right? This isn't the right response to completely throw caution to the wind. Run the ball. You're at the 2-yard line. Also, you're up. There's no reason for you to even try to get cute and score a touchdown. Run the ball, make them use their timeouts, run the clock, go up 6. Indianapolis had shown zero ability to move the ball against your defense all night. Why are you going to give them any sort of potential momentum? There's only really bad things that could happen from that situation. And honestly, like, I'm tired of Denver in fucking primetime. And Stove, if he was here tonight, would echo that, because he's the one that brought it up in the group chat. Like, God, the NFL really kind of screwed the pooch on this, putting Denver in five primetime games, I believe, in all in like the first 7 or 8 weeks. Not good. It's bad football, and it's not gonna, I don't think it's going to get better. I think, the old adage has always been let Russ cook. I think Russ is cooked, and
yeah,
I don't know that he's a guy that can make anybody around him better anymore. I would almost venture as far as to say he's no longer even like a good quarterback. Like, I think he's just a name now.
Oh, that's a really tough thing to say and really kind of come to terms with for some folks. But for me, I'm of that opinion and have been since last season. I don't necessarily think that everything happening with Seattle was all Russ's fault. There's plenty of wrong with Seattle last year, and I think he was right to leave. But I feel like, he's like a really shitty NFT. And maybe one that Logan Paul's bought recently that had some pretty high value of $600 or more $1,000, and then now has a value of $10. This is what you're looking at. Yeah. And
Aaron brings up the fans too. Like, I'd be embarrassed if I was a member of that team seeing fans walk out at the start of overtime. Like, we're still in a game that's tied. They're walking out of the stadium.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one thing. It's one thing to see that in in Dallas, Texas this weekend when the Oklahoma Sooners got absolutely fucking annihilated by Texas. Seeing those fans leave, understandable. The final score for the record was 49-0. So
it's 8:37 and OU still sucks.
Listen, it is 7:37 Central Standard Time and OU still sucks. They're fucking horrible. And so I don't even feel proud about the victory. Obviously, beating a Sooner is always great. We brought the boom to them, and you know it was a little too easy. But to go into overtime and to still have your fans leave, that's fucking.
And it was an exodus too. It wasn't like a small uprising. Like half the stadium left.
And just to clarify for those of you guys looking at your screen now, the Broncos were at home. So just to put that into perspective for you, they were at home. And Gary on the solo victory island here. The 1 week I don't ride with Indy.
And I'm the one that's been bagging on Indy all year. I just, like I said last week, I have not liked what I've seen from Denver. I thought we were going to get a game like this, a real sloppy teens game. Like they scored even less than I thought they were going to. I thought it was going to be like 16-15, but they did not disappoint. That's for damn sure.
That is for sure. All right, so let's jump back into this week's games. All of us here unanimous. The Chargers needed a good game. Needed to continue on with the Browns. Final score 30-28, and you know there's still there just still continues to be signs of life out of the Browns, and I hope they can figure it out soon because they do have some pretty
well for the Chargers either.
Yeah, it definitely says more about the Chargers than it does the Browns.
Yeah.
I will take my victory lap here as we go into the fucking Jets 17-40. It's a tough go in Miami, and there's plenty to talk about there. So I'm gonna hand the floor pretty much immediately to you. And I mean, more than just the game itself. You know, I know we're going to get into the Bridgewater situation shortly, so I'll just hand the floor to you.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I'm going to bring the overlay back up, and I'm just going to point out we've got 3 games here that are bridged by arrows, right? And there's a common theme across, especially these 3 games. It was league-wide. There were egregious issues across the league, but the league has now knee-jerked officiating roughing the quarterback. And we saw a weird situation with Teddy Bridgewater where he gets tackled, goes to the ground, lands on his chest. His helmet hits the ground, but he holds his elbow, shows no signs of any sort of concussion symptoms, yet they take his helmet away and tell him he's not going back in the game. So now we've got the NFL doing exactly what they did with the Ray Rice situation. You try to sweep under the rug domestic abuse. You get busted because the video comes out, and then you
overcorrect.
Right, and he's blackballed for the rest of his life.
Right.
So they're doing the same thing here with the concussion protocols. It's a severe overreaction, and it's the NFL essentially trying to distract everybody. Like, hey, just look at what we've done this week, and everything's hunky dory, fine, and we can just move on from this. But it's not. Like, we saw a man on the field that neurospecialists, neuropathologists have said he could have died. When you have concussions that quick back to back, you can die. And now the NFL is not going to come out and admit that Tua had a concussion and that the protocols failed that bad. They've pinned it now on this doctor that they think made mistakes. But across the board here with the Bridgewater situation, he didn't belong out of that game. Right, he had an elbow injury, but non-throwing elbow, and displayed no symptoms at any stage. Like, they took him back and evaluated him, no symptoms. So what were they trying to make a point to say? Oh yeah, Tua didn't exhibit any symptoms either. That's why the mistake was made. Listen, guys, like, he was asleep on his feet on national television. There's no question that he exhibited symptoms of a concussion. Bridgewater is the complete opposite. So you can't just sweep that under the rug here. It's bad. And I know you've got something to put in before I get to the next 2 pieces of this. What do you got, buddy?
No, honestly, that to me is kind of the big topic. That's pretty much all I want to cover for that game, because ultimately Tua is still out. So I wouldn't say it's a bad, like, it's to be expected given the circumstances for Miami, right? And so signs of life from the Jets, maybe. I mean, that's
Dude, that young team is starting to figure out some things. They've got a young stud at running back in Brees Hall. Zach Wilson looks better than he looked at any point last season. I know
yeah,
he had the injury in preseason, but he looks better than he looked at all last year. Garrett Wilson is the real deal. They've got Elijah Moore still in place there. They've built the old line a bit, built the defense up. They've got something going there in New York, and it might not be misery forever for Jets
yeah.
fans. I got a cousin who's a Jets fan. I kind of hope for success for them, for him to enjoy it. But
We're riding with you, is what I'm saying.
yeah, for sure.
Here we go. We got another one coming, a good one here. Just to the Super Bowl, baby. All right, listen.
That
Michael,
might actually be my cousin. I don't know if he's got Twitch, but my cousin's name is Mike, and he's a Jets fan.
listen. Chill out. All right, that's all I'm not gonna shit on you because I don't know you from Adam. Unless you want smoke, then come in the comments and you're welcome to catch some of it. However, the Jets are on the right track. That's the point.
Yeah.
And for being a young team, that's the best part, is that they're a young team. They still have so much opportunity to be better.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get through this next one. I mean, because we've got a couple here to talk about. But all right. Gary on the island, being the Commanders fan, being the Dallas Cowboys fan, haters that he is, puts faith in Dallas, but really more bets against the Rams.
That's 100% it.
Michael says, I'm not even a Jets fan. I was just kidding. Okay, good. Well, let us know in the comments what your team is so we can proceed on from there.
Shout you out, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I go against my own team, and you come out on top here. So, I mean, this definitely, like I was saying before, this definitely builds or says more about the Rams than it does the Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys get a chance to take advantage of the defending Super Bowl champs in moment of weakness because they are not prepared or tooled, and there is definitely something wrong with Matt Stafford. I think that's something that we could probably agree on. There is something wrong, and whether it be continued.
That's a tough go, bud.
Listen, man, hang in there.
You've had a lot of winning seasons in a row here.
You have, in my opinion, I think you have the best coach in football.
That's fair.
I think if he's not, he's top 3 guaranteed. Mm-hmm. He is he's one of the best coaches in football, and so it's a shame that he's probably going to get his first losing season.
Full rebuild.
But
you nailed it on the head, right? This wasn't me saying that I think that Dallas is better than the defending Super Bowl champs, because I think in the long run, the Rams, I still have faith that the Rams are going to figure out the offensive line. They're really struggling to figure that offensive line out. But this said so much more about Dallas's strength versus a really bad weakness of the Rams, and we saw it on full display. Stafford was running for his life all night. They had, I think, 6 sacks, 7 sacks in the game. Parsons was in the backfield all night, despite the groin issue that, for Cowboys fans' sakes and for the NFL's sake, one of the great young players in the game. I hope he's not injured for a long time. Sometimes those things can nag and hang around, but DeMarcus Lawrence looks different this year. He looks healthy. He looks hungry. He looks motivated. That's all it came down to for me, was how much chaos I thought the Cowboys were going to create for a quarterback who doesn't look right to begin with, and to be running for his life all night on top of not looking right. That's what this boiled down to, honestly.
Yeah. And I'm of the same opinion that I think that the Rams are going to figure it out. They have the full potential to figure it out. And, this, again, it's going to be more, for me, it's going to be more where the Cowboys move from here, because, with Dak coming back, you're and we'll get into it in our week 6 review, but, talking about Dak, talking about his return against arguably the best team in the NFC next week. I mean, this could potentially be the start of a rough road for them. So let's get into our Tennessee Commanders game. Commanders at home. Final score 21-17. All of us on the Victory Island together here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get
Jesus.
nice.
Chill
I'm gonna get
out,
a little
Sam.
worked up here. I haven't done this a whole lot this year about Washington because they're bad, right? And they're gonna be bad. But Carson Wentz goes out against one of the better pass rush teams in football, one of the probably 8 best defenses in football. Maybe even you can make an argument for top 5 against the team that has the best running game in football, bar maybe the Eagles because of what Hurts can do with those running backs. He goes out and completes 25 of 38 passes. That's a 66% completion percentage. 2 tugs and a pick. The pick wasn't really his fault. I blame Scott with the play design and the play call. We're down at the goal line, run the ball at least once, and you challenged a play, Ron, that you shouldn't have challenged and lost the timeout, which is something we see all the fucking time. Like, just all the fucking time. He challenges shit, never fucking wins. He challenges shit he shouldn't be challenging. But you're at the goal line and you're running these mesh routes that are just jamming up the whole field. There's no chance for Carson to complete a fucking pass. So I don't blame him for that pick. So in my opinion, he played a near perfect game behind a dog shit offensive line against one of the better defenses in the league for 59 minutes and 59 seconds, right? It was literally the last play of the game he threw that pick on. And I don't even blame him for that, but the post game is really what does it for me. And before I get to that, I'm just going to make a quick transgression to the other side of the ball. Dear AFC teams, Derrick Henry is fully fucking back. That dude is a fucking nightmare. The last 3 weeks, really the last 2 weeks, he's been unstoppable. You better fucking strap up when you play the Titans because he's back, fully back from the foot injury. Now, to talk about the postgame, Ron Rivera has the fucking audacity after a game, when asked what the problem is that has allowed the rest of the NFC East to blow by Washington, to say quarterback.
Yeah, left that comment up here for a reason. Yeah.
Your quarterback just had a great fucking game. Your quarterback is 5th in the league in passing behind one of the worst offensive lines in football. 4 guys ahead of him: Brady, Mahomes, Herbert, Allen. Wentz is the next person in line behind those 4 fucking people. And you have the audacity to say that quarterback is the problem with this team. Fuck you. Fuck you and every one of your fucking cronies, because you have the 26th ranked defense with 7 first-round picks on that side of the ball. You have 7 first-round picks on the defensive side of the ball, and you are 26th in the league. You're dead last in third down percentage. And I'll say it again, and I've posted this on Facebook 100 fucking times. The highest percentage play in all of football is 3rd and 10 plus against this fucking Jack Del Rio defense. It is fucking embarrassing. You, Ron, are the fucking problem in Washington. You and your loyalty to these Carolina castoffs. Carson has been one of the only bright spots on this fucking team all year. And if you'd have asked anybody before the league started whether that would be true after 5 weeks, they'd have told you were fucking on glue, because that wouldn't be true. But it has been true. Carson is not the problem in Washington. And I'm going to tell you again, he wasn't the problem in Indy, because guess where they rank offensively right now after being the 6th best offense last year with Carson Wentz? They are 32nd after 5 weeks. 32nd. And I'm going to take another victory lap because I told everybody on this show before the season started, they have no fucking playmakers. Matt Ryan wasn't going to fix shit. Carson wasn't the problem. And after 5 weeks, here we are. Yet, Ron, we're still blaming the quarterback. You did it with Dwayne. You did it with Heineke. And now you're trying to do it with Carson? Bro, look in the fucking mirror. It's ridiculous.
Well said. And Michael's saying Carson Wentz deserve better now that Rivera's a bum. 100%. 100%. Rivera is absolutely a fucking bum. Carson Wentz deserves better. Now, thinking about NFL teams, regardless of availability, contract situation, cap space, whatever it is. Let's take a good offensive team. Let's put Carson Wentz in Detroit. A little better offensive line. He's got weapons. Where did the Detroit Lions sit in relation to Jared Goff? With Jared Goff as quarterback? Because the only other team I was thinking of, honestly, was the Cowboys, and where I don't feel like opening up this fucking Dak versus Carson argument because there's nothing to really be said there.
No. Dak ain't going anywhere either. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the reality of the swap. I'm just talking about the simple comparison of the two. So Jared Goff to Carson Wentz.
I think you take Carson. I think they are better. I don't know how much better because I think
but at least arguably as successful, right?
Oh, they don't get worse. No, they don't get worse. They don't get worse.
Hey, listen, there's some things getting fucking figured out in Detroit right now. And absolutely. Detroit fans should absolutely be very fucking pumped about that. The MCDC faith has got to be through the roof right now because that's what it is. I mean, Dan Campbell is a fucking monster. He's a great leader. He's that dude. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely loving what I'm seeing there.
Detroit doesn't get worse with Carson Wentz for sure.
See, there you go. So
and I think they get better.
Agreed. Carson Wentz definitely gets a bad shake here with his time with the Commanders. So, and that's 2 teams in a row. Shit has not gone well for him. So, Chicago at Minnesota. All of us take a W here. 22-29. Minnesota takes the single possession victory here. And now we're going to get into Tampa Bay at home against Atlanta, 15-21. And this is gonna tie into the calls. This is gonna tie into a lot of things that we're gonna talk about tonight. There's just the stereotype of Tom Brady can't be touched without a flag being thrown. The stereotype fucking exists for a reason. Period. But I keep asking myself, I feel like at least every other week, at what point in time do we reach that threshold where we're like, this is unacceptable. We need to acknowledge it and fix it. You know?
I won't disagree with you. There is that bias, right? It's the superstar treatment. It's the quarterback treatment. All quarterbacks get treated very differently. Even within the quarterback community, they get treated differently. Like Cam Newton used to get crushed, didn't get calls, but Brady gets calls, and Peyton Manning used to get calls. It's a weird thing that the NFL does with the quarterback position. The big thing about this one though is, and I've had other people say like, oh, it's the Brady treat. This, I don't think on a regular Sunday, if the things with Tua hadn't happened, I don't think that gets called roughing the passer, to be honest. Even being Brady, I don't think that they call that. And I'm going to give you an example, and it's in the other game that we've got highlighted. So we might as well just knock that out right now because these are the congruencies, right, with the flags. So in Vegas, Kansas City game, Chris Jones sacks Derek Carr, strips the ball, but lands on him. He couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. It's not like he tried to drive him into the ground, but they throw a flag. And if you're going to say it's the Brady treatment, then is it the Derek Carr treatment? Like, is he on that level of superstar? So my counter to that is this week, and we may see this for a couple of weeks, but especially this week, was an overreaction to the Tua situation, and they're going to throw flags for roughing. They're going to throw as many flags as they possibly can to say, look, we're trying to get a handle on it. We're trying to get these guys to stop doing these things to the quarterback. And the thing with the Brady one that made it so obvious that it was a reaction to Tua is the way that the tackle was made. It was the quote unquote whipping action. It wasn't nearly as severe, right, as Tua.
Right, there was definitely a slingshot effect to it, for sure.
Exactly. And all the it's Grady Jarrett. All he did was really kind of fall to the ground and pull Brady with him. But centripetal force, or centrifugal, whichever one it is, it took him to the ground. And but it comes back to another thing that like we've talked about on this show. NFL officials are asked to do some really weird things. Like the NFL just goes to them and says, "You're going to emphasize this week, or you're going to emphasize that." Like, why can't we just regulate the rule book? Why can't we just enforce the rule book that exists? Why do we have to get weird about like the fucking Raiders Chiefs game, that the holding they called on that field goal attempt? He didn't hold him for one. And two, the guy ran past the guy that supposedly shot the gap. Like, John Perry is useless in the booth. I don't know why they have him in the booth. He's fucking dumber than a box of dildos. It's so frustrating with officiating and how they ask him to do and then to watch how incompetent some of these officiating crews are, to expect them to do more. Like, it's not going to work. And this is just such a bad overreaction to the Tua situation, and it's so transparent that that's what the NFL was doing. It's disappointing. I shouldn't be disappointed because this is what the NFL does, but it still was hard to watch. And even Brady, like after the game, like had nothing else he could say except for like, I don't throw the flags. You don't, right? But it's not roughing. I will say that crew in that game was pretty bad because the play before that, roughing the passer, Alford tackled the wide receiver out of bounds, like while the ball was coming in, and didn't get a flag. That crew was just bad.
Yeah, 100% agreed. I mean, it was just bad officiating, and I appreciated Brady with the Belichick response when those flags.
I'll throw those flags.
Yeah, he channeled his inner Billy Belly there. Yeah, it was just, honestly, it was an L for officiating again, and I just wish that we would get to the point where we stop overcorrecting, and because like we can't continue to overprocess this stuff, right? Like you can't
Did you see the woke silliness response to Troy Aikman?
Yes.
Let's pump the brakes here, fucking woke culture. Like, we're not canceling Troy Aikman because he said take the dresses off. Like, yes, dresses signify daintiness. He didn't say it was a male-female thing. He didn't bring the LGBTQ community into it. He just said, let's take the dresses off and play some fucking football. Let's pump the brakes on this whole cancel Troy Aikman shit. The 60s called. They want their misogyny back. One, you don't know the definition of misogyny if that's what you're saying. And two, grow the fuck up. It's fucking football.
Oh my God. I just, I can't. Whatever. Whatever. No politics here on the show.
Yeah. I had
all right, so Philly continues to win, this time on the road in Arizona, 20-17. And listen, folks, shit's getting real for the Philadelphia Eagles. We will get into that as this continues to go on, but the fucking Eagles, the NFC East in general, the dumpster fire, the soup sandwich, the shit show that we've all called it that, or at least I have. I'll speak for myself. And the fucking Eagles are looking good, bud.
Yeah, 5-0, man. Like Bill Parcells said it. You are what your record says you are, right? They're 5-0. They're undefeated. They still didn't put a complete game together against Arizona, but they won their 5th game in a row to start the season. So you can look at it two ways. This is a team that's ripe for a loss, or it's a team that still has plenty of room to grow because they haven't put a complete game together yet. They went to sleep for about 2 quarters in this game, like they have in every game this year.
And they got fortunate. They took advantage of a lesser defense, and speaking of that defense, it's a real thing. Anyways, Green Bay, this is the game in London, 27-22, and the Giants, Ben McAdoo hyping up the tunnel on his way in after this win. 27-22, and the Giants beat Green Bay in London. Craziness.
Ben McAdoo's a treasure.
Dude,
is crazy.
I used to hate that guy. And I
still do, but he's so funny.
Yeah, I can appreciate. He's a likable guy.
I cannot fucking believe the Packers lost this game, dude.
I can. There's just,
there's something wrong there. And there's something magical going on with the Giants right now. I can't explain it.
The Giants situation is going to be short-lived.
We said that last week.
It's going to be short-lived, man. Like, again, this was Cowboys Rams, man.
Yeah, this was kind of an anomaly.
Yeah, this is Cowboys Rams. The Rams aren't ready to be good yet, and neither is Green Bay.
Yeah,
stop,
Michael from
dude.
the top rope.
Oh my God, from the logo, this man. In Detroit, we were all betting on him.
Oof.
In Gillette.
Oof. Billy Belly showed his whole ass in this one.
Yikes.
Pitching a fucking shutout.
Pitching a shutout. MCDC, just fucking hang on, bud. You got him next week. All right? You got him next week. Yeah. And another, I mean, these are 3 straight L's in a row.
Dude.
The Texans beat the Jags at home. And I don't think this necessarily says too much bad about the Jags because they're due. It says more about the Texans actually being a viable contender. Like, they are close to.
Yeah. Detroit thought the game was up in Michigan.
Yeah, some of the motherfuckers apparently didn't board the plane. Playing with
no,
someone
I think
else.
You're right. And Houston's been fighting all year, man. They've played a lot of tight games.
They have.
I mean, pulled one out here.
I put them on par with the trajectory of like the Jets. They're close.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of young players, and they've been fighting, man.
They've been fighting. They've been holding their own, and it looks good. Baltimore taking a W at home, 17-19 against Cincinnati. Gary on fucking loser island.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine. I can't ever blame you for riding with Tiger King ever. But
dude,
for me, it was honestly home court. It was home field advantage for me. It was the decision maker.
That's fair. Justin Tucker is a fucking machine,
dude.
he comes on the field. It's just like, yeah, well, Ravens are winning again. 58 yards, and he just banged it through like nobody's fucking business.
There's something that Texas does well, and it's produce kickers.
Yeah.
You know, we saw it with old Dicker. Fucking. We saw it recently with Dicker the kicker, and we'll get to that here shortly. Or we've already covered it, I guess. But anyways, all right. Michael, cover your ears. 38-3. It's a tough
go.
It's a tough go. That's man. You know, rebuilding. I feel bad for Tomlin. You know, you hate to see it. In New Orleans, against my better judgment, because I wanted to ride with New Orleans for the upset or for the, you know, the shocking victory here. But honestly, it's the home field advantage again for me that I should have went with. But you know, I wanted to gamble on Geno, and we take the L here. So 32-39, New Orleans wins at home.
Yeah. If this game was in Seattle, I probably would have picked Seattle. Honestly.
Yeah, that's probably a fair. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't expect 71 points though. I did not expect that, but that was crazy. Taysom Hill fucking went nuts.
And I honestly want to believe that New Orleans defense is a little better than that. Jesus Christ.
Kenny and George have some chemistry, though. I think that they're going to get there. They need an offensive line. Najee Harris is getting hit in the backfield before he can get anything going. I think if they can rebuild that offensive line, Pickens and Pickett, they've got some chemistry. I think they'll be all right. Pickens is a beast.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, he is. All unanimous here. San Francisco beats Carolina. Matt Rule out in Carolina. That's kind of the latest update that's happened recently. And, you know, honestly, for me, it's a fucking shame.
Yeah.
I think it's a shame. I think that Matt Rule has a full capability of being a great NFL coach. And I think that he'll go back to college. Maybe he goes back to a Big 12 position. I don't know. Maybe you need to jump into the College Tailgate Trash Talk podcast, which airs out tomorrow. Check that one out.
We'll definitely be talking about that.
Matt Rule might be a topic of conversation. So highly recommend you guys check that show out. So San Francisco, you know, they're on the up and up. They had an easy week, honestly. Let's just get to it. It was an easy week. They went on the road, came home with a W, 37-15. And the last but not least, the final. So 29-30. Kansas City Chiefs win at home. We are victorious here. Ooh,
That's the
Gary.
rumor, man. That's the rumor. I think that if I'm Buffalo, I'm a little bit cautious making that move.
Yeah.
It's going to be expensive. It's going to be expensive draft capital. It's going to be expensive. He's got a big contract. I don't even know how they could fit that in because they've paid Allen. But if they can make it work, if Carolina will eat some of the cap or something along those lines, I think you have to at least visit it. I just worry that he's never healthy and it's going to be a waste of draft capital to get him. But I have like, what is it? The candies, the gumdrops dancing in my eyes like at Christmas morning, thinking about CMC and Josh Allen in the same backfield. Like that'd be awesome.
Ugh.
That'd be awesome, dude. It'd be gross. And if he's healthy, like that's a serious upgrade for them because Singletary's fine, but he's not CMC. James Cook scored his first touchdown of his career last week, but he's had some struggles with fumbles and holding on to the ball. I just think that if they can get him, if they can make it work, and if you can somehow keep him healthy, golly, that's a scary offense. That is a scary fucking offense. With what Gabe Davis did this past weekend too.
I'd give up crazy cap space for CMC.
I think you have to at least visit it. The way the Bills draft, they draft so well. It's got to be hard for them to give up draft capital. So they've got to be really sure about CMC.
Well, I think that they've got to be sure about their future. I think they've got to be sure about their future with their players. I mean, like you bring on a player like CMC, you have to be early on in a majority of your big capital careers,
Sure.
and you've got to be ready to collect dividends along with the CMC.
Yep.
So, all right. So I'm sorry. We need to get back into the game, and so like I said, this was in general, it was just a controversial game. 1-point victory at Arrowhead as Kansas City beats Vegas. Once again, putting the Lawson Raiders, but a controversial fucking call. I just, and then on top of that, Devontae's probably going to jail. I'm just kidding. I don't think he'll go to jail. But
it sounds like that dude's going to try to press charges.
He did. He went to the hospital. He filed a police report. So yeah, charges are imminent.
The dude bounced straight up. Like, what injuries?
He's fine, dude. I mean,
like, you get a bruise on your butt.
He's fucking fine. His pride's fine. His pride's probably hurt, and that's fair. But listen, don't walk across Devontae fucking Adams after a controversial loss, because anyone in my way, especially if I'm as fucking big and dangerous as Devontae, Doug, no, you're catching I'm gonna Sparta kick your fucking ass, dude.
Well, you don't like as a player.
Travis Kelce fucking let its nuts hang last night, dude.
4 fucking tutties.
Ugh.
But like, back to the Adams thing too. Like, as a player, you're walking off the field and somebody runs in front of you. Like, you don't know who that is. You don't know if it's some crazy fucking dude.
And we see it all the time in basketball. We'll see a player walk off the court. There's a little confrontation.
Throwing beer at him and shit. Like, you don't know what's going on there. I'm not trying to defend Devontae because, like, he shoved the guy to the ground. But, like, let's relax on pressing charges. Like, he pushed you. He didn't punch you and knock your teeth out. Like, let's chill. Well, but like Michael said, Kelce stole the fuck. Yeah, that's right. Seriously, cash grab for sure. You're absolutely right. Kelce, though, there's nobody better than him in the league right now, and it's going to be hard at the end of his career to argue against him as the best all time. You're going to have guys like Gonzalez, and you're going to have Gronk, and you're going to have Kellen Winslow, and some of those guys that are going to be in that conversation. Kelce's going to be right there, and it's going to be hard to argue against him as long as he continues on this trajectory, health and all that, aside. But it's going to be hard to argue against Travis Kelce as the best tight end of all time. I mean, just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dad, you're right. Cash grab. That's what it looks like. Yeah, looking like Travis Kelce. I wish I could play football like Travis Kelce.
What a compliment.
Oh, shit.
All right. So that recaps the week. Is there anything else you wanted to jump in about that? Obviously, aside from that we're going to end up getting into some analytics things and discussions later.
We got a couple things in Cap Facts that we're going to revisit.
Yeah. So let's see here. Let's jump into the most important part of our show. So for those of you guys that are new, Michael, welcome to the show. We are a veteran-owned podcast. And so myself and Gary serving together in the Navy, USS Carr. Gary going on to make chief and be somebody important. And anyway, so with that, we dedicate every episode to a fallen service member. And this week's episode is going to be dedicated to Army Sergeant Michael Paul Barrera, who died October 28th, 2003, serving during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was 26 years old from Van Ormy, Texas, and he was assigned to 3rd Battalion, 67th Armor Regiment, Fort Hood, Texas. And he was killed when his tank was hit by an IED in Bakuba, Iraq. Army Sergeant Michael Paul Barrera, we have the watch. All right.
Jump into Cap Facts.
Let's do it.
All right, bud.
Gang, gang, baby. We out here. Lone Star Light. All right, Cap Facts. The NFL is being reckless with its transparent use of flags instead of properly addressing protocols in response to Tua's impromptu naps. Great way to phrase that. Just throwing that out there. But honestly, it's obviously facts. I think that my problem with all of this is, again, we've talked about it before. It's the overcorrection, right? And it's not an overcorrection because it'd be different. I would be fine with the overcorrection if it was just we're just trying to be safe. But no, you're trying to save face. And that's different. When you're thinking about public image more than you are player safety, then you're just proving everyone's point that you are a soulless, heartless fucking organization and you're just money mongrels, right? And so without getting into that politics of big business and the Goliath that is the National Football League, my monologue is very fucking simple. Start focusing on the players themselves. When it comes to player safety, allow the NFLPA to have way more control over safety implementations and things of the like, because ultimately it is their livelihood that they're putting on the line every Thursday, Sunday, or Monday. In the preseason, in the training camps, all of the above, in the off-season training regimens that happen prior to everything starting. It is their livelihood. It's their salaries. It's their lives. It's their jerseys being worn. It's their jerseys being sold. It's their teams being fucking ticketed and all of the above. Give the players the power to put forth the safety protocols that need to be put in place. And I think that that's the earliest detection and the drastic, and I think this is the most unlikely scenario, but you need to give them due process or give them some type of way to hold these teams or the officials accountable. And it's across the board. It's got to be more than just that. It has to be the teams, the officials, the league in and of itself. When you're compromising that integrity, there's a problem. So, yeah, the overcorrection for me is so transparent that it just, it's one of those where I don't like the NFL, but I love football. They put on the best football, so I watch it. That's where I'm at. I hate myself for being an NFL fan, and not because of the players, but because of the organization.
Yeah, you hit so many points on the head, and you put it perfectly, right? I love football. I don't like the NFL, the way that they treat the game, the way they treat the players, the way they treat fans. I mean, to be completely honest, because the key word for me in this is it's reckless. It's reckless because it's impacting the outcomes of games. It's impacting the way we view the game of football. Because as fans, there's levels, there's tiers, right? And you've got your casual fans who just watch the game because it's on TV, or they watch the game because their husband or wife likes football, or their family, or it's just on at Thanksgiving or whatever. And then you've got your kind of avid fans that are just super fans of a specific team, and they don't really care about the ins and outs of the game. They just really want to see their team win. And then you've got like your kind of analytical fans, and then you got your kind of like super engrossed fans that on different levels, they care about the game. And I find myself more and more hoping and wishing that I could stop being that super engrossed fan, because I know the rule book. I know the way things are supposed to be officiated. I know the way that plays are supposed to run. And I know what coverages a lot of times the defenses are in and shit. And like sometimes I sit here and I think like I wish I could way to break it up, Aaron.
Well said, Aaron.
But sometimes I wish I could just kind of check out of that, because what they're doing really does impact the viewing experience. Because what happened in the game with Brady, what happened in the game with Derek Carr, and Tua or Teddy missing the entire game, and still today not showing any symptoms of concussion, that possibly took a win away from the Dolphins, because now they're on their third quarterback. So like, it's not just for saving face, you're impacting the game. And that's, for me, that's what really says reckless, right, for the NFL and what they're doing here, because it really is, it's impacting the product on the field.
I mean, yeah, it's shallow, it's heartless, and again, it's game impacting. And and even taking something as lightly as like the influence of the gambling world, now that that's being legalized in a lot of states now. Sports betting, that is fucking with Vegas. That is fucking with a lot of states that have legalized sports betting. And so then, maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it takes, is the private sector jumping into this and saying like, hey, you've cost by this upset, especially in like a Super Bowl high value playoff scenario, the missed call with the Saints and Vikings game, like those situations are going to eventually piss off somebody with enough money to say, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm hoping is going to happen.
It's all about money. It's always about money.
So that's what we need to do. We need to support the businesses, give them the money that they need to get out here and try to equalize this. All right. So anyways, on to the next one. Cap Facts, the NFC East is the best division in the NFC, and there is a follow-up question to this. So, Cap Facts, NFC East is the best division in the NFC.
I'm gonna take this a step further. So we did debate this a little bit in the chat on how to phrase this. So I'm gonna leave the door open, and I'm gonna kick the door in, and I'm gonna say that right now, especially like this moment in time, the NFC East is the best division in football. They have the best winning percentage by a long stretch. The Giants just knocked off the Packers. The Cowboys just knocked off the defending Super Bowl champions, and Philly's 5-0, right? And as bad as Washington has been, especially with their 1-4 record, like they've been in almost every game. They got blown out by, the Eagles, and then Detroit kind of got away and they made a comeback late. But they have a competent offense, and you can't just sleep on Washington. For how bad they've been, you can't just sleep on them. Across the rest of the NFL, I thought the AFC West was going to run away. They haven't. The Broncos are really bad. The Chargers have kind of scuffled. I'm waiting to see the Chargers put it together, but the Raiders are also, they're 1-4. So for me, I'm going to say this is facts, and I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to say that the NFC East is the best division in football, and maybe the AFC North is the only one that has really an iron in the fire to say we're still here.
Okay. So I definitely agree. Facts, NFC East is the best division in the NFC. There's not really another one that I could say confidently would come to mind. I feel like we have 2.5 good teams here in the NFC East. I think the Eagles are legitimately good. I think the Dallas Cowboys are very close to being really good. And I think that the Giants are lucky and they're good. They're okay. They've had some things go their way. Maybe Ben
There's something
McAdoo.
there's something magical going
There's
on.
something going on, right? And whatever it is, I can't explain it. I can't say that it's all luck because they're executing well. There's things going on in the play calling that is productive. And
Whatever they're
so
doing at halftime too, they're the best
the
second half
halftime
team in the
adjustments are
league.
fucking yeah, exactly. I was gonna
They're
say
the best second half team in the league by a large margin. It's crazy.
it is nuts.
Crazy.
Now, when we get to comparing them National Football League wide, now we're incorporating the AFC. My only hesitation is not the AFC North, only because I'm not sold on the Browns.
That's fair. And
It's
we
not
know
the
what the
AFC.
Steelers are.
It's not the AFC West anymore because 50% of that division is garbage, and the Chargers are not consistent. The AFC East is actually my only comparable division. And so when we're looking at the Bills, they're a fucking no-brainer.
Yeah.
I will continue to stand by my pick in the very
Aaron
beginning of
agrees
the
with
season
Aaron
is that
agrees
the
with
Buffalo Bills will be the fucking Super Bowl champions, period, this year. The Dolphins with Tua, they're good. And they're real good. Waddle is the fucking truth, dude. Tyreek Hill can be the truth. The Jets are very fucking close. And honestly, whatever's going on in New England, I think that they're closer than anyone else realizes to being a legit playoff contender next year. So AFC East is the only comparable. So when we go NFL wide, I will say it's Cap, but only because the AFC East is better, but they're quietly better. So
That's fair.
it's
Aaron, you're
more
not
than just the
sticking with your
record.
Broncos? That's
Come on,
fair. The
dude.
Bills, I think, are demonstrably better than any team in the NFC East. Like,
Yeah.
I know Philly's undefeated, but it does sort of feel like they've been a little fortunate to win all 5 games. Like, they haven't put
The defense is legitimate, though.
their defense is pretty good.
They have arguably one of the best corners in the game.
He's one of the 3, 4, 5. He's in that conversation for sure.
Yeah. We talked about lockdown corners not really being a thing anymore. I think that Darius Slay is an exception to that.
He's probably as close as we have. Him, maybe a guy like
Surtain.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. He's in his second year, so maybe he's still got another year or so to prove it. But he's been as close probably as we have outside of Darius Slay.
Yeah.
Stephon Gilmore kind of showed his ass again this past week, but
yeah. All right, so there we are. On to the next one.
Last one here.
CapFacts analytics is doing more harm than good for NFL teams. So I'm going to immediately hand the floor off to you, but I do want to caveat just so that I don't take this out of context. When you're talking about analytics in application to what?
Yeah, so it's the going for it on 4th downs. It's the going for 2 when you're down 14. It's
from a play calling perspective.
It's not necessarily the play calling. It's the decision making to go for it. When they do, there's a book, right? And
okay, but you're talking about you're not talking about the analytics from like the booth or anything outside of the individual organizations. You're talking about analytics within the organization at game time when it's time to make a play. You're saying we are going to go for it on 4th, or we are going to, run it instead of pass it into the end zone.
And they're basing it on these weird numbers that they're putting together, right? And so that's what I'm talking about. So for me, I'll answer this and then and I'll let you contemplate it with the clarification there. But I'm going facts, and I proposed this question, and I hate so many things about analytics, and I shouldn't, because like I'm sort of a math nerd in some ways, and but
I mean,
analytics
I'm sure
can't.
you did time as an analyst as well.
I am, like, that's my day job. Not a mathematical analyst, but I
Yeah,
do a lot of like metrics and computing and shit like that. So like this is sort of in my wheelhouse in a sense. But
Mm-hmm.
my biggest problem with it is that analytics takes everything in a vacuum, right? So the book is the same for Indianapolis as it is for Washington, as it is for Buffalo, as it is for Kansas City, right? The book is the book across the board. It's numbers, it's percentages, it's probabilities. And for me, it's doing more harm than good for NFL teams, because we have teams like fucking Washington. Ron Rivera goes for 2. When you score a touchdown, you end up down 14. Oh, if you get the 2, the next time you just kick an extra point and it's no problem, and you win the game. But then we find out later in the game, Detroit goes and scores, and then Washington goes and scores again, and we miss the fucking extra point. So like, nothing is a given. You can't take things for granted, and you can't treat things as if they're a vacuum. Going for 2, if you have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, is very, very different than if you have Matt Ryan and Mo Alley Cox. And that's my final point. And I don't have to bag on the Colts again. Let me put it another way. It's Mahomes and Kelce is very, very different than Daniel Jones and Pettigrew, or whoever they've got now. It's their starting tight end now that they've let Evan Ingram out the door. Yeah, have an idea of like when and if you want to, and whatever. But dude, it's this whole the book says go, like, throw the book out the fucking window.
I'm 100% with the idea that analytics can do more harm than good for NFL teams. What I do believe is that whoever's in the booth, whoever is your offensive or defensive coordinator, special teams, head coach, every single man who has any kind of play calling, not only ability or responsibility, but influence, I think part of the job title, part of the job description, one of the most important qualities is discretion. I think that analytics, so my answer is cap. I don't think that analytics is doing more harm than good. I don't think that there can be enough analytics to really be perfect, only because there's chance, and ultimately any given Sunday, right? My opinion is simple. You hire people to realize when, if you're sitting at the end of your game, it's 4th down, you can either kick the ball to continue the overtime, or you can run a play to try to get the touchdown when, oh yeah, you've not been in the end zone all night. Analytics are not a conversation. Greed should also not be in a conversation. It should be realism. Realism is ultimately what all of this is. It needs to come down to realism. It needs to come down to, hey, we suck. We haven't been in the end zone. They haven't been in the end zone. Good defensive performance against some shitty offenses. And we should kick this to just fucking slow the bleeding, because it's not an all or nothing. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Analytics, in my opinion, can absolutely be devastating to a team that does not use discretion. There is a certain element of logic that you have to use when you held that kind of responsibility or influence in your offense. And I don't think that analytics are to blame for that. I think that human error is to blame for that. I think that greed is the thing to blame for that. And I think that analytics is a cop-out.
Yeah, well put.
So the blame is never going to lie with the analytics. It's just a series of statistics and chance and just information.
Yeah. Ready to talk week 6?
Don't talk about it. Be about it. NFL week 6 matchups, starting with the Commanders in Chicago. I'm on the island riding with Chicago. And this was honestly, it was a home field advantage for me.
That's fair.
That was it. I think that as long as Ron Rivera is a coach in Washington, they're going to continue to not do well.
Also fair. I don't trust Chicago so much. I think they're making moves in the right direction. I don't think they're ready to really put together a bunch of wins.
Yeah, and you know what, Aaron? Excellent point.
Yep.
Another shitty Thursday, and I know that some of this can be attributed to, hey, we didn't know that they weren't going to be good at this Thursday. But at the beginning of the season,
we knew
if you thought that the Chicago Bears and Washington were going to be the fucking game to watch and to be on prime time on Thursday night, you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Anyways, you know, we're play calling here from the bench. But okay, so Andy on the island riding with Indianapolis at home against Jacksonville. You and I riding with Jacksonville. I feel like you and I have the logic here. And I'm not just saying this because of Andy, but I'm saying this because I'm fucking out on Indy, dude. I'm out. Yeah. I'm out.
This wasn't a slam dunk for me because I thought Jacksonville looked pretty bad last week, but I think they bounced back. Indy, I'm fully out. I know I picked them last week, but that was more of an indictment on Denver.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that we're going to see the same thing from Jacksonville.
I appreciated that conviction with the Denver pick, honestly.
Yeah. To me, this is Jacksonville's going to bounce back from a tough loss to Houston, and we're going to see Indy be Indy still.
Yeah.
32nd ranked offense. You can't score with the Jags.
Yeah. It'll be a tough go for sure. Yeah. So, Bucks at the Steelers. Michael, cover your ears.
Sorry, Michael.
Yeah, dude. Tom Brady's gonna look to get a W here on the road against a very, very bad Steelers team.
I will say one thing. I hope we see more fight from the Steelers this week because I don't like to think that a Mike Tomlin coached team would quit, but they looked like they quit last week against Butt. Once Josh Allen got things going, it seemed like the Steelers kind of checked out. And that could just be Josh Allen's fucking Superman, but it did feel a little bit like Pittsburgh kind of quit. I hope that's not true, and I hope we see better from them this week.
I hope if that is the case that Coach Tomlin fucking showed him that film and then made him stay up all fucking night watching it over and over again. I made sure he punished him because that was...
I don't think he's letting that slide.
For sure. Again, he's
Broncos country.
Dude,
let's hide.
Let's ride our ass on home, says Aaron Althouse. And I don't blame you. It's a tough go.
It is a tough go.
It is a very tough go.
It's a tough.
All right, on to our next game. And this is going to be, in my opinion, I think this is the game to see this weekend.
I think Buffalo, Kansas City's got a claim to stake, but this is going to be, I think this is going to be one of the better games of the week. Probably the second most important game of the weekend.
For sure. And Buffalo, Kansas City is Monday night, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And
No.
Or is it? Please don't say Broncos Chargers.
It is Broncos Chargers. This is another one that the Broncos are in prime time. So Dallas, Philly.
Fuck you.
Dallas, Philly is Sunday night, and Monday night is Broncos Chargers. Yeah.
I'm disgusted.
It sucks, dude. They got a bunch early in the season. They've been on primetime almost. I think they've had one non-primetime game this year so far.
I feel like they've
played Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, and then they're gonna have another Monday night. So 2. So they'll have 2 that they haven't played in primetime. Fucking ridiculous.
I don't.
I
don't accept that. So,
yeah, I think you're right, Dad. 4:30. I think that's.
So, Dallas and the
Eagles. It's in Kansas City, so that makes sense. 4:30.
Yeah. So, Dallas against the Eagles. I believe Dak is going to get the start.
How confident are you that they'll start him? Because there's still talk that they want to be extra cautious with his grip strength. They want to be cautious bringing him back. Do you think this is the one they bring him back for? prime time against the Eagles. Maybe.
I think this is one that they shouldn't bring him back for. Like whether or not
I
they
agree with
should,
you 100%.
I don't think they should bring him back here.
I agree with you 100%. Excuse me. I just think that you don't break up a good thing when you're going to play Philly. Honestly, like I just don't think that's the one to do it. You've got Detroit next week, Chicago after that, and then your bye week. Like I think that's, to me, feels like the prime opportunity to bring him back. I agree, Aaron. That's why I
Aaron,
say
100%. I think you're setting him up for failure. This is not the game where you need to have. This is not the game for him to shake off the rust.
Yeah.
You are going up against what we've now talked about as arguably one of the best teams in the NFL outside of Buffalo.
Right. They're 5-0. I just don't think you break up a good thing either. Like they've got a good rhythm with Cooper Rush right now. I think you wait till next week. You give yourself an opportunity against a Detroit team that hasn't been playing their best the last 2 weeks.
I think aside from week 16, looking at the Cowboys schedule here, Lions, Bears, Packers, Vikings, Giants, Colts, Texans, Jags, and then Eagles again in 16. I think that is the perfect stretch for Dak. It's the perfect stretch. You give him basically 2 weeks to prepare for Aaron Rodgers.
Right.
In Lambeau. And then from there, I still believe that the Dallas Cowboys, if Dak is back and can produce, I think that they have no problem steamrolling the Vikings. I think that they will beat the Giants, the Colts, Texans, Jags, and then back to the Eagles again. Then we have a game. Now we have a real matchup of what the postseason is going to look like, because regardless, the Eagles are going to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's the right way to manage it. So I have a question for you as the resident Cowboys fan here. Now that Stove's not on board to not on for tonight to comment. Jesus Christ, mushmouth.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. So Dak comes back and say they do bring him back this week, and he struggles against Philly. Maybe he struggles against Detroit. How long is that leash after a 4-game win streak with Cooper Rush? Is it Dak's team no matter what, or is there some kind of cast of doubt now with Cooper Rush and how well he played?
The petty side of me would say that because it's a division rivalry, they're not going to want to give up the L. That's what I think. So I think that if Dak was to start on Sunday, and thank God that's the primetime game, because that's the one it should be.
Yeah.
I think that if Dak gets the start on Sunday and he does not perform well, at least through the first half, I think the first half is really the decision maker. If he doesn't do well, let's say it's a 2 or 3 score deficit, possession deficit, I think Cooper Rush is going to get the start in the second half. I think that if this wasn't a division rivalry, or if this wasn't against, one of the lesser teams in the league, especially a division rival, I think that they would be fine losing the game. And that's in an effort to show ride or die. But right now, they have a chance. Like in the NFC, with the status of the NFC right now, they have an absolute guarantee right now that they are going to the playoffs.
Yeah, you got to keep stacking wins. For sure.
So they can't fuck that up.
Okay.
All right, on to the next one. I'm on the island here, riding with Atlanta at home against San Francisco. So, I totally get it. But again, there's something magical happening in fucking Atlanta too.
They've been competitive all year, man.
There's something going on, and I'm riding with it. And I don't feel like it's not even just a consistency thing. I think legitimately that Atlanta is underrated. And when I was talking about consistency, I was talking about San Francisco. There is genuinely a concern for consistency on San Francisco's part. Mm-hmm. In Atlanta, though, at home, from what we've seen from that team, there is absolutely a chance. There's going to be. I think for me, it was the edge. It wasn't just home field, though. I think that if Atlanta went to San Francisco, I might still pick them.
Nice. Yeah.
I think that they're underrated.
Nice.
On to the next. Gary on the island, riding with Minnesota, to no one's surprise. kind of don't blame you given the quarterback situation. Are we going to be seeing Tua back at all this year or this week?
Not this week. Not
Yeah.
this week. I'm fully confident he's missing at least another week. I think that they are going to be forced by both the NFL and the NFLPA to leave him out of games, whether he's cleared or close to cleared.
Yeah.
And for me, I think Bridgewater starts. I look at what happened to that Dolphins defense last week against the Jets, and I think Dalvin Cook could have a huge day for you daily fantasy players. I think that what the Vikings do well on offense is exactly what the Jets did to the Dolphins last week. And for me, that's kind of what tipped the scales that we're not going to see Tua. We might see Teddy, and I think Teddy's fine as a backup, but I just think the Vikings offense, what they're doing with Justin Jefferson right now and their ability to run the ball with Dalvin Cook, I think that they're gonna slice and dice a little bit on this Dolphins defense.
Yeah, I'm already kind of regretting not picking the Vikings here. Honestly, I just completely spaced on the idea of the quarterback situation happening in Miami. However, I'll stick with it. Okay, so Carolina on the road in SoFi. Rams looking for a bounce back, and I think this is the perfect bounce back opportunity for them. And so we're all unanimous here for good reason. I guess I should probably be reading this by column so that I'm catching this in the right game order.
Yeah, that's how I did them, but
my bad.
It is what it is. The only thing on this game, I feel bad for Matt Rule. I really do. That he's kind of shouldering the blame for a roster that was really left depleted by Ron, of course. And they chased very hard for quarterbacks. They went and traded for Darnold, spent some real draft capital there, went and traded for Mayfield. Didn't spend a whole lot of draft capital there, but they never really put an infrastructure in place. He never had a healthy CMC. Even this year, CMC's been a little weird. Like they've had him on like a pitch count. He never really had all of his weapons at his disposal there in Carolina. I just feel bad for the guy. You played in the same division as Tom Brady. Like, ask AFC East fans how the fuck that feels. Like it's not a fun thing to do. So I just feel bad for Matt Rule. I think he's going to land a big time, high profile college job. If not back in the NFL, it's possible he might get a second chance. But I think he's going to be back in college football next year.
And he'll thrive.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm just going to keep going in order of a book just purely because I want to get this fucking game out of the way. We're all going with the Chargers for obvious reasons. They're at home. It's against the Broncos. What else is there to talk about? Nothing. On to the next one. Gary on the island, ride him in New England, even though Cleveland's at home. That's an interesting pick. Patriots quietly getting better.
Yeah. That's the big thing for me. The defense is really coming together, and they're running the ball well. They weren't running the ball well the first couple of weeks of the season. So they ran the ball really well last week against a not so great Lions defense, but they are running the ball better. They ran the ball pretty well the week prior. And I just think that right now Belichick has kind of figured out who they need to be this year to win games. I'm curious to see when Mac Jones comes back, if they're going to go back to the offense they were running with him kind of running the show, or if they're going to continue down this path. But that defense looks fucking nightmarish right now.
Yeah.
And I like you said earlier in the show, I don't trust Cleveland. I really just don't trust them right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a Cleveland at the end of the day is just fucking their Mexican tap water. It's a gamble, So Cincinnati.
You can say that.
I can. That's why I do. The resident colored here on the Backyard Sports show. Cincinnati on the road in New Orleans. We're all unanimous, riding with the Tiger King as we should. Nothing else to talk about there. Yeah. Arizona. Gary's on the island, riding with Seattle. Is this just a home field advantage?
It's a little bit of that, and I think the wheels are coming off in Arizona. I really do. There's some discontent there. We saw some bickering on the offensive side of the ball with a couple of guys that are supposed to be like fucking the leaders, the yin and yang of Arizona football. So I just think that things are starting to unravel a little bit there in Arizona, and the Seattle offense is a lot better than I anticipated it being. We could see a shootout. We could see something in the high 20s, low 30s, but I think Seattle gets the win here, partially because they're at home and partially because I just think the wheels are falling off in Arizona.
That's fair. Okay. Jets on the road at Lambeau. You know, we talked about their performance last week with Green Bay. We're all unanimous here for Green Bay.
This was enticing. This was so enticing.
This was spicy. I mean, this one was real enticing to go on the island, and I'm kind of surprised that no one did.
I thought someone was going to take it.
But I'm not going to give it. I'm not going to give in to last week, man. It's an anomaly. You're in fucking London.
Yeah,
there's the travel. There's the jet lag. There's all kinds of shit that plays into a road game.
They were listed as the home team, but they were definitely not.
They were not the fucking home team.
Yeah, I think Green Bay gets right back at Lambeau this week.
Yeah, this is the opportunity for them to do it. All right, Baltimore. No. No.
Long term, no. This week, if you got a spot,
if this is just like a waiver wire you're filling in for a bye week guy, then yeah.
I would say if you've got room to stash Geno and not drop Kirk, I think this week Geno might outperform Kirk, but long term, someone's going to pick Kirk up and you're going to lose him. And I don't know that Geno's going to keep doing this all year. I could be completely fucking wrong, but I don't think this has staying power with Seattle. I think right now they're kind of just letting things fly. I wouldn't drop Kirk for Geno. But if you can play Geno, if you can pick Geno up, not drop Kirk, I would start Geno over Kirk this week because of the matchup. The Cardinals defense doesn't look good. I think Geno could light it up. It could be a high scoring game. And Kirk, I think that running game is going to take over against Miami. You might not see Kirk. He might get a tud, but I don't think you're going to see 2, 3, 4 out of him. I think you're going to see Dalvin Cook get a couple, probably Alexander Madison for your daily fantasy football players. You can get him on the cheap. He might get one punched in. I just think they're going to really dominate on the ground. Look what the Jets did last week against the Dolphins on the ground, man. And the Jets do not have the same running game that the fucking Vikings have.
Yeah, exactly. That is an excellent point. Baltimore on the road in New York. And Gary riding with the idea that the Giants really have some magic going on, and they're going to take on this Baltimore defense, who is okay. They're better than okay. I'm not going to try to like shut them down or anything, but you know, but you're banking definitely more on the Giants offense than the Baltimore defense.
It's a little bit of everything with the Giants. There is something going on, something magical, something written in the stars, whatever you want to call it. They're winning games in very strange ways, and it doesn't feel sustainable. But when I watched what happened with Green Bay last week, where Rodgers gets 2 batted passes at the end of the game, the Giants get a couple of one, they got a fumble that ended up getting out of bounds when the Packers player had a clear opportunity to recover it on a kickoff or on a punt. They had a couple of really fortunate ticky-tack calls, extend drives for them. There's just something going on with the Giants, and maybe I have finally been swayed by the fact that I've literally picked against the Giants, I think, in every week so far this year. So
learned his lesson.
I learned my lesson, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, there's definitely an argument for the Giants. I don't think it's anything really worth shitting on you about.
Yeah.
All right, so Buffalo at Kansas City.
Apologies for the typo.
Bug, yeah. And Andy on the island riding with Kansas City. And for me, it's just, this is just the fucking Andy doesn't like Buffalo bullshit. I don't think
he loves Patty Mahomes too.
No, I know. I just don't feel like there's a viable argument here that the Chiefs are gonna beat Buffalo unless you're just trying to bank this on home field. Arrowhead is always a difficult stadium to win, and there's no doubt. But Buffalo Bills are like fucking Elsa from Frozen, dog. The cold never bothered them anyway. There is not going to be like Buffalo doesn't give a shit, dude. They will knock on your front doorstep, kick your fucking door in, and just whip you. Like it doesn't matter. Buffalo is that team to beat. And he doesn't believe that because he also thinks that the Broncos were going to be Super Bowl champions this year.
Aaron's Broncos.
Aaron's Broncos.
No, look, I'm with you. I just think Buffalo right now is clicking, and they're hitting on all cylinders. Not to say that Kansas City's not playing really good football right now, because they are. I just think that Buffalo's a little bit better right now, and I think that little bit is enough to get the job done in Arrowhead. If this was in Buffalo, this is a no-brainer for me. Despite how good that I believe Kansas City actually is, yeah, absolutely. You're eating dinner on the floor.
Facts.
But I just think that Buffalo's defense is better than defenses that Kansas City's faced so far this year. You're going to see a lot of man-up coverage, and they're going to be able to stay with guys. They've got really good safety play. And that offense is just so fucking explosive. Josh Allen is the unicorn, honestly. As good as Mahomes is, as good as other guys are, Brady, Rodgers, etc., Josh Allen is the unicorn. He's 6'6", 245, I think he lists at. He probably runs a 4.5, maybe a 4.6. But he's a fucking defensive end playing quarterback. And the dude flicks his wrist and it goes 85 yards. Dude could throw a fucking blueberry through a battleship.
Shit is crazy. I mean,
give me the Bills. Give me the Bills going into Arrowhead, knocking off the Chiefs.
I really don't even think it's going to be a one possession. I think it's going to be at least 2 possessions. Like I think it's going to be I think it's going to be a strong win.
That's bold. That's a statement. You go into Arrowhead and you knock them off by double digits. That's a statement.
Yeah. I think we're going to see a double-digit win in Arrowhead for Buffalo. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's just going to sling nuts all over him, dude. Anyways, all right. So let's get to some congrats, Brian.
So we got 2 winners though. Andy's got Tennessee and Vegas winning the bye week.
Oh yeah.
That's an in-house joke.
Oh my god.
All right. Let's start with DMK.
All right, let's do it. All right, what is your damn K this week, Gary?
My damn K comes from last night's game. It's Travis Kelce having 7 catches for 45 yards. Didn't get a lot of yards last night, but the final number on his tally, 4. Count them.
Yeah.
4 tutties. Sets his personal record, sets a Chiefs record, most touchdowns in a single game by a Chiefs tight end. 4 tutties. He was uncoverable at the goal line. I know the Raiders, like I said on Facebook, like they should probably pay attention to number 87 near the goal line, but they were moving him around and he was running a lot of like option routes and just getting open. Dude's a fucking animal. Dude's kind of a unicorn at the tight end position with how athletic he is, how fast he is, how shifty he is. He's unbelievably shifty with the ball. You just can't get him to the ground. 4 tutties. Damn, okay.
Damn K indeed. I'm going to stick with the home native, especially in light of the absolute abomination of an important performance we saw from the Oklahoma Sooners this weekend. I'm going to ride with a Longhorn that goes by the name of Justin Tucker. To be as veteran as you are as a kicker, to look at a 58-yard field goal and be like,
we good.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get over it. It's the moxie. It's the confidence. This is not cockiness, folks. This is confidence. This is I know I've got the biggest dick in the room. I have nothing to prove. And so for that, Justin Tucker. Damn K.
Damn K. One quick note before we jump into congrats, Brian, too. Last night, speaking of kickers, Daniel Carlson extended his longest active field goal streak. I believe he's 6 away from tying the record So keep an eye on that, folks, as we go over the next couple of weeks. Fucking couple of really good kickers on display the last couple of days.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
All right, on to congrats, Brian. All right. Which Brian are we congratulating this week, Gary?
So I was going to use this opportunity to shit on Ron again, but I'm not going to because I gave him hell a minute ago. And it is great to see all of the sentiment around the league, around the talking heads, finally understanding that he is not qualified for that position. It was unbelievably refreshing to see Alex Smith say, you can't fucking do that. What are you doing? But I'm not going to go there. I'm going to talk about Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels. In a game that you are battling with a division rival, in a game that you're on the road, you have all the momentum in the world, and there's 4.5 minutes left. You decide you're going to go for two, like you're just going to keep Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs down for 4.5 minutes without attempting a field goal. So you go for two, and you miss the two. Okay? Then you get the ball back. Your defense stands up and gets you the ball back. So instead of chasing the win and having to go there on that fourth down, you could have punted and played overtime. Instead, you got to go for it. And great route concept. Hunter Renfrow just blew it. Ran over Devontae Adams, or you probably do score a touchdown, and then we're singing a different tune today. But if you hadn't gone for two and missed it, you're probably sitting in a very different position going into overtime, and you have a chance. You have a chance. But instead, you don't have a chance because analytics. Analytics said, visiting team, on the road, right, go for two, late in the game, blah, blah, blah. 4.5 minutes is not late in the game for the Chiefs. Ask Buffalo Bills fans, 13 seconds.
Even with no timeouts.
13 seconds.
They can put a fucking 14 on you.
It's crazy. 13 seconds left isn't even late in the game. So, God, that was just such a bonehead decision. And I'm so tired of this whole analytics thing. I'm so tired of just this. We're making decisions in a vacuum. You have to, as you put it so perfectly, you have to have discretion. You have to have intuition. There's got to be room for feel. Understanding the feel of the game, understanding the flow of the game, time, place, situation. Golly, Josh. Congrats, Brian.
And he continues to not be the fucking answer in Vegas.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
He's going to be another example. Head coach material. He's going to be another example of a fucking Belichick of a Belichick product that is not. I mean, we saw with Fat Patricia.
How many fucking Belichick coordinators meet the +1 rule? Like all of them? Crazy. Yeah. We're relying too much on fucking analytics and automation. Like, God.
So my congrats, Brian, goes to one we've already talked about earlier, but it's just the most atrocious. I mean, speaking of fucking game impacting goal line play calling, you go for the touchdown instead of the field goal when you haven't been in the end zone. You haven't seen it in a week. You haven't seen the end zone in a week, and you try to go for it. So Hackett, Russ, the Broncos, whoever the fuck you want to attribute that to. That to me, that's my fucking congrats, Brian. That was an absolute. I don't even care. Like going for it and even being victorious, it was a bad decision. It was a bad decision. If you had been in the end zone 3 times that night, sure, go for it. Do your thing. You're taking the gamble. If you lose, it's like, at least you've been in the end zone. There's some justification to the decision, but there was no justification. There was zero. There's not a fucking analytic you can produce that would tell me that was a good decision. Not one. That had nothing to do with analytics. That had nothing to do with discretion. That was just a fucking bad, greedy call.
Greedy.
And so for that, congrats, Brian.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So that one I've been just kind of storing up all fucking. It just irritated the piss out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, it immediately took me back. Pete Carroll, Seahawks, Marshawn Lynch.
It clearly took Richard Sherman back. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick looks over at Andrew Whitworth and says, "Has he experienced this before? What's he talking about?"
Dude, Fitz Magic is should be one of the most celebrated human beings on
He's
earth.
an American treasure, man.
God damn, protect him at all costs. He is the male 50 years younger Betty White. 60 years younger.
Yeah.
Anyways, God rest her soul. All right. Do we have anything else to jam in here? Any closing thoughts, Gary?
Yeah, I'm curious to see going forward how long the NFL is going to keep up this facade of the concussion protocol, of throwing the flags, of just kind of overreacting. We've seen this in the past where it kind of does go away. So I'm curious to see.
I think it'll go away. I just feel like the juggle of the overcorrections is indefinite. It's never going to go.
Yeah, that'll never go away.
But this routine of like something bad happens, we fucked up, we're going to overcorrect, followed by, okay, it'll even out over a week or two period. This rotation, this cycle is indefinite.
Yeah, it's Thanos. It's inevitable.
It's systemic.
Yep, for sure. I'm just curious to see how long, with all the uproar over the bad roughing flags this weekend, if they'll try to course correct and maybe center it back. I don't know. I don't know. It's not a good look.
Fair enough. Well, I have no closing thoughts other than, Hackett should be fired. Russ is garbage. Fucking garbage, dude. And yeah, Josh McDaniel is a fucking trash can punch himself, and not the good kind. Just yeah, you need to.
That's fair.
Yeah, it's careful. I don't know if you guys have seen the video of Kevin Hart reenacting how you should actually tackle a quarterback, where he has to get laid down, pillow, blanket.
Put him down on pillow.
That is the whole process. It's basically, focus on the ball, not the quarterback right now for the next couple weeks. But anyways, so with that being said, this brings our episode to a conclusion. My name is Raul Herrera. I got Gary Freeze with me. Backyard Blitz, brought to you by Backyard Sports Media. We'll see you guys next Tuesday night. Be sure to check in tomorrow for Tailgate Trash Talk and the Rosenbaggers. It's October, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the MLB postseason, and I'm sure Gary is anxious to get back to his game, so we're going to bring this bitch to a close. Raul Herrera, Gary Freeze, Backyard Sports, Backyard Blitz. We'll see you guys next week.